Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, your host of That Girl the Podcast. I'm an author, performer, 2-time Emmy Award winner, human relationship specialist, and founder of the wellness website loveyouevenmore.com. Each week, I bring on inspiring people and experts in their field to have powerful, motivational, and enlightened conversations about relationships, self-development, and how you can live your most authentic life. Follow us for daily updates on myself and the podcast at That Girl the Podcast and at Jackie Brubaker on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and our Patreon page. While you're at it, make sure to check out my new wellness website, loveyouevenmore.com. If you're wanting to dig into developing more self-worth, be healthier about relationships, and learn how to date smarter, go to loveyouevenmore.com and follow us on Instagram at loveyouevenmore. Welcome, Talia Bombala, to That Girl the Podcast. I just love saying your name too. I was like, I hope I said it right, but I know I did, and I just love saying your name. We are going to talk about taking accountability, aka I'm always right, and I know I'm right because I'm right. We're going to talk about that and how men and women can better take accountability in partnership. So Talia, welcome back to the podcast. Tell people who you are one more time in case this is their first time getting to know you.
Yes. So my name is Talia Bombala. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. I specialize in confidence and assertiveness. I come at my practice and my work from more of a Jungian depth-based perspective. So a lot of your sub and unconscious, a lot of your defense mechanisms, a lot of your childhood upbringing does play a role in how you are as an adult. What patterns were or were not modeled for you largely dictates who not only you are attracted to, but also who you are attractive to. So really a lot of that deep end of the psyche work is where I like to play and live. And that is what we are going to talk about today.
We are going to talk about that. It's very Jungian. We're just going to dive real deep. So grab a hold of something because
get your floaties, get your snorkel, your
get your little floaties. We're going to do it.
Yes.
Oh my God. So, okay. So yeah, let's just talk about, I'm right. I know I'm right because I'm always right. Period. I'm right. That's how we feel when we're having arguments or debates or whatever you want to call it with your partner. It is so easy to feel that you're right because of what you just said, because of our upbringing and what we were modeled and what we just inherently know, because hello, that's what was taught. It just subconsciously. So let's start with a scenario that you see a lot in your couples and just go there.
So a very common scenario that I see is a mismatch of what was actually happening within a particular disagreement, a conflict, a conversation that turned into a disagreement or anger, and the person, usually the husband, is feeling very blindsided. There's a really remarkable dramatic shift, and there's this awakening of, okay, what's going on here, right? I had no clue you were upset. I didn't know anything was wrong, which further incites a frustration, a defensiveness. How could you? If you really loved me, you would have known, fill in the blank. And like we talked about last time, that's not the way that men and women think. The way that women think is the way women think, and the way men think is the way men think. It doesn't mean there's not skills that can be learned and there's not training that you can, I think, instill in your mind would be a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You can work past those impulsive instincts and what your core drives are with a lot of conscious thought and really intentional work, but that's not the way we're hardwired, especially then when you add an upbringing. So there's feeling resentful, let's say, feeling like our partner's not doing enough around the house. They're not shouldering the burden. They're not being who we want them to be or who we have this unrealistic expectation of who they are.
Right.
And we get frustrated. Right. And so we'll just go with a classic example as female brain. I'm frustrated. Why is he not noticing the same things that I'm noticing? I'm the only one. Right. We start to get into the land of always and never, which is not our rational brain. If we're using absolutes or black or white thinking, we're not in the land of being able to actually have a conversation anymore. And there's this buildup, this pent up frustration that ends up getting spilled out, typically at a very bad time, It's right before bed. It's right when they get home from work. You've been storing it in all day. You're super jazzed up and ready to like, boom, we're having this conversation without even checking to make sure it's a good time for your partner. And typically defensiveness is the response. More often than not, what I see in my couples, men do get defensive more than women do in the typical way, in the classic, I didn't do that, or, well, I guess I'm just the way that I am and you have to take it or leave it.
Oh my God, that just made me mad just hearing that.
Right? What's who I am. And I think how we phrase that makes a big difference if we're educating our partner. Hey, I'm validating. I understand you're frustrated with what happened and how I handled that. As long as we've been together, that has been my way of handling things. Right? That's a much more evolved way of essentially telling the person, this is who it is, take it or leave it, right? I have been consistent. I've been authentic from the start. So where was this other expectation you had that it would be any different this time? And let's explore that. Yes. And I think being able to honor and validate what your partner's going through instead of jumping right to defensiveness, that is their reality. And we know what it feels like when somebody tries to convince us out of our reality. So why then would we think that is a good, quote, like positive, productive response to then counter our partner's reality? We get a lot farther in a relationship and a conversation within each, pocket of time that we have these conflicts and look at it and go, okay, where are you seeing this? Right? I'm hearing frustration. I'm seeing anger. You said that there's needs that have been unmet, right? Instead of getting defensive, I have to have done my own inner work, though, to not get defensive or take personally what you bring to me, or what, if my perception were different, I would feel like I'm being attacked for.
Right. Well, it's because, we're right. We're just right. And they don't get it. No, but that's so, God, that is such the typical scenario. That's perfectly put. Okay. So let's go into sort of, why are women more likely to do that and have the pent up and then wait? And then why are men more likely to be like, I gotta go, this is stupid? What is happening there? Because that's not, maybe it's sort of this role that we've seen over and over with our parents, but it is pretty definite with each gender. So why?
To spare an entire neuroscience lesson, the way the structure and the function of those structures in our brain operates, it's not the same order, I would say, put it kind of in layman's terms, it's not the same order that men go through thinking of things. We relate to our world in such a way where it's almost like inanimate objects talk to us, or we have to keep up with appearance. It's like, oh, the pillow needs to be this. Oh, the dishwasher needs to be. We relate so differently that on a baseline, they aren't seeing the reality that we do. And if we're going in on their behalf or the behalf of the relationship and tidying all those things up, especially if it's subversively, well, I hope I'm subconsciously modeling for them what I expect them to do in the relationship. And then we get mad that they're not taking our completely nonverbal, very subterfuge hint. And then we get mad, right? We just get upset. Well, how could you have not? And they're like, what? And then we get upset because they haven't noticed. So we process things a lot through our emotion.
Yeah.
And we feel much more intensely because we have to analyze, are they mad? Are they this? Am I safe? Right? I see the brow furrow. What's going on? Why is there a mood change? I sense something is off in you. You're about to tell me something. My gut feeling, right? We process things so uniquely from the way that men do. Yeah. And so when we bring something up and we think we're right, that is the way typically in society that women trains other women, we train other women to be that way, that especially from back in the day, the mom was the one who stayed at home. The wife was the homemaker. She's the one who rules the house. The dad just kind of complies, or she follows his rules. And it's a much different structure in a family system nowadays, especially given everything that shifted after COVID and work from home, but two-parent income. The typical 1930s through 1950s way of running a household is becoming more and more antiquated. It doesn't mean there's not lingering morals or values that we could instill, but by and large, we feel like we're right because that is typically the structure and function that was modeled to us. Okay. And it also is the way that we make sense of the world. And we expect other people to make sense of the world the same way we do. This is transcending male, female. This is more of our ego taking the show, that we're egocentric. We think everything revolves around us. We also have this belief everybody was raised the same way we were, with the same morals and values. And as you get older and experience more of the world, you really start to learn some people were, most were not.
Right.
And I think that, coupled with how we think and feel differently and in a different order, that's the recipe for why we feel like we're right all the time. Because wouldn't it be so much easier if we were and everybody just complied with us? It's this way of trying to get a power reclamation or a safety reclamation back in the relationship, but we end up losing some of the time, and so do our partners.
Well, and there's those relationships I'm just thinking of where like the woman is just, maybe she's right, maybe she's not right, but everyone's like, don't piss off mom. Don't piss off my wife. Like, sure. Yes, dear. I mean, that's where the yes, dear thing came from. And sure, it is easier to just comply, but all of that resentment from everyone else is building. And that's terrible too. And that, sometimes just explodes. And the mom/wife is like, wait, what? I had no idea, which is ironic because that's like the flip of what happens to the guy. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? I thought everything was fine. So it's kind of interesting karma. Let's talk about the guy and his thought process, because I know a lot of women are like, oh no, wait, tell me. Okay, I got what I'm doing wrong. Like, what is he doing? What is he doing?
What is he doing wrong? So I can, call on the carpet. Right. I would invite people to, instead of, if they are listening and hoping for that, that's not going to happen. That's not the way I talk about men. What if it's not a matter of right or wrong? It's more of a matter of what are they doing differently? Like, to really use neutral, non-shaming, non-judging words. Yes. What is different about their experience? Can I put myself in their shoes and approach them from what it might be like for them? Can I be curious about, and this goes for both couples, but especially men can learn how women think. Like, if men can learn how women think, that it is different, that we relate to the world differently. When she comes at you full force with more frantic feminine energy, with more resentment, with more frustration, check out and don't take it personally. Attend to it, but try your best to filter it as, okay, something is going on. She's seeing something happening that I don't see. I'm going to listen. I'm not going to become defensive. I'm going to wait for her to finish the entire thing. I'm going to filter for feelings words, right? What are the emotion words that she's describing? And then if you are able to validate those, the intensity lessens and lessens and lessens. And now you can actually have a functional conversation. So instead of joining, and what happens in the brain is like, okay, threat detected, I need to fight too, right? And we go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn in different orders. We all have each of them. We just have a different order of it, that they go into fight mode. You're attacking my character. Right? Depending on how you're bringing something up, you're not coming to me at a time where I feel like I have my full faculties to be able to defend myself. Yeah, I'm going to get defensive. And I'm going to go on this protective measure of, it's like I'm fending for myself. If you don't see what I've done for you, or if I don't even see what you're accusing me of, I am going to become more defensive. And if it is something that I know that I do, and it's something that you've called me out for because I deared you, and I didn't actually have any intention of following through with it, right? I was wishy-washy and I wasn't a person of my word. Men they don't like it equal. They don't like having to do that or feeling like they have to do that. And they don't like being caught for it or called on it.
No,
and so
they don't.
For men, what you can do differently that would be more effective. And yes, it's likely going to lead to some frustration, especially if the dynamic's been people pleaser or happy wife, happy life, et cetera, is the mantra of your relationship. We respond to you setting a kind, loving boundary and like putting structure and like, I got you. We respond to that well if it's done in a respectful way. It's sexy, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that for you. I understand it's going to be frustrating, but I won't be able to do fill in the blank. Now I'm not left in the dark. I'm not holding on to the hope of you half agreeing to do this and knowing that you were going to go back on your word. And I'm also not going to only want to hear yes from you, but women have a plan this too. Well, he says no, he says his opinion, he says what it is. And we try and convince them out of it. Right. But why not? But this, but that, but that. No, take each person at their word at face value. That is a great thing that men can equip themselves with. Be impeccable with your word. Don't do something that you are not intending on doing. And if you decide later to do that, let the person know, hey, if you still need that thing done, my schedule actually freed up, so I'll be able to go do that for you on your behalf. Wonderful surprise. I would much prefer that than you say you yes me, and then you end up doubling back on your word, because for women, we filter that as, okay, then what else are you lying about? I can't trust you on anything. I'm going to stop asking you for things. I'm going to wall up. I'm not going to be receptive. Enter into couples therapy when this pattern has been locked in for months, typically years.
Yes. Oh my God. That's exactly, I mean, obviously she does very good work, people. This is what she does. But God, that is so true. I was just going through this with a male colleague, and I was like really annoyed because I am so tired of, like, I spent my whole 20s in the music industry and everyone's like, yeah. And then you're like, when is this going to follow through? Like, when is this going to happen? And I was so like, quote, led on by men in a work situation. And I'm just like, fuck, oh my God, I can't even deal with that. Like, just tell me a yes or a no. You're interested, you're not, whatever. In a work situation recently, and I actually need to talk to him like tomorrow and see, because I'm like, nothing's moved for like a month. Stop making it seem like you're excited. Like, if you're in, great. If you're not, that's fine. I'm a big girl. I'm not going to cry about it. And that's the thing. Like, if you're a woman, regardless of the type of relationship, if you're being placated like that by a guy, it's so disrespectful, guys. Like, it is. Like, you're not helping anybody here. And I think that men are so afraid of being the bad guy or like letting us down that they'll just do it. And then they end up being a bigger bad guy at the end.
Yeah, they either follow through on the yeses, slowly building resentment as one potential. They say yes, but they mean no, and they don't follow through, right? They come off as wishy-washy, or they are true and impeccable with their word. They only agree to things they know they'll have a success rate at, they know they'll win at, they know they'll be appreciated for.
Right.
However, that does come at a cost that not everybody's going to be happy when you have to say no. And like you're saying, to avoid becoming the quote unquote bad guy, or what society would deem as, the D-bag, the asshole, what have you. He's such a, we have to ask ourselves, right? In even a friendship setting or a business setting, it doesn't have to only be romantic. What am I not doing that this is being allowed? And that's where accountability comes in, especially in the work that I do with my clients. But you allowed that. And I'm not victim blaming. I'm not saying anything like that for those specific nuanced topics. But if you're continuing to let this person treat you in a way that you don't like, that is your accountability to take. It's not a fault. I don't think people need to go around feeling guilty or blame, et cetera. But when you feel wronged, you typically try and direct the blame somewhere. And men and women do this differently. We go inward and we go very down on ourselves. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What can I do? And then when we do all the soul searching and realize, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with you? Right? We export it onto them. And men don't filter it that way. They don't. They filter it much differently and much more uniquely from that. And so when we're dealing with them, we sometimes approach them assuming they've done all the soul searching we've done and that they're ready to have this conversation and share all that was going on for them. That could be learned. Absolutely. That's not most of the time. And my bias, my sample size, that's not what people are coming in for. People don't book a session to show me how great they're communicating. They book a session because they're like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. Right. Or, hey, we've had a couple fights. We want to get ahead of it. It's like that kind of spectrum. So when you're not following through on your word, you end up, like you said, becoming this version of yourself you don't want to be seen as, because at the end of the day, either of those things, right? I'm saying yes all the time and not following through, or I'm saying yes all the time and following through and getting resentful. Those aren't your true authentic self. That's not being true to your word. That's not being congruent. And when we're not experiencing congruency as a human, we deem it as mistrust. It's not trustworthy. It's not reliable. I'm going to stop asking you for help. I'm going to activate my independence even more. There's going to be more distance in the relationship. And there is a longing and a loss, and in specific cases on the man's side, when he does want to provide, he does want to give, he will follow through on his word, right? We have a great example of him wanting to follow through. And then the female partner is the one who's shutting it down because of not this relationship. What was her dad like in childhood? Was she wronged by a primary caregiver? Did she have a negative interaction with one or many previous romantic partners? And so the view is skewed, and there's this general mistrust towards men at large. And they approach men as if they're not trustworthy. Yeah, if you approach me like I'm not trustworthy, you're going to hear some words. Like, I don't like being something I am not. And that, again, that's where defensiveness comes in. So I think they do this dance in all of our psyches along the way as we get older.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so much gold right now, you guys, just so much gold. Okay. So let's get into how can we be more authentic showing up in this kind of a conflict or however you want to put it. Yes. As a woman, like, what can we do? I mean, obviously we know we need to like step back and be like, hold on,
breath,
hold the phone. Maybe there's something I could be doing to make this better, like better timing, asking, hey, I want to talk to you about something. When is a good time for you? Which is so easy to do. And I understand because we've all been there where we're just like on fire. And we're like, when you get home, we're going to do this. And
they don't know. You've only
have
told them
no clue. Yeah, they have no clue. They're just so happy to be.
Later, like it's happening, and they just walk in the door, and you're like, you don't even know. Yeah,
right. Like you don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they're like, "Ooh, I'm going to walk through the door and be all like sexy time with her," and she's like,
"Flowers, we're having a great day." And then he walks into a fight, and she's like, "How did you not know?" And he's like, "What is happening?"
Yeah. No, it's so not fair, and that's not being a team, right? That's just being we're an opponent at that point. So, okay. So those things we've definitely covered. And also, I mean, this is deep work and this is like, go to therapy, kids, like read some books, do the work, but like, like figure out like how your parents were to you, whether you had, a father figure or if it was just a mom or just a dad or whatever, like what are your triggers? I actually just did 2 days ago, some really deep work on releasing some stuff with my dad, just like dad issues that were coming up in a different type of a way where I was like, oh, wow, I am so afraid of, in my case, this is so dumb, but like I was so upset with getting a lower grade on something that I should have. And I completely took it personally and made it this whole daddy issue. And I was like, okay, let's work that out. And it was with the male professor. So I was like, perfect. Mm-hmm. But, figure out like, first, where that stuff is coming from, at least acknowledge like, okay, cool. My dad was like this. This is what I'm, afraid of. Now, after you've kind of done some of that, what is a woman? What should we do?
I would say stop looking at your partner like they're an enemy and lay down whatever weaponry you have. True vulnerability means that you are willing to be hurt. Not that you're asking for it or hoping for it, but you're going in so secure in yourself that you will love yourself and know what is the right thing to do for you, mixed with vulnerable and able to be open and curious with your partner. What's going on, right? Why do we automatically make them the bad guy? Because subconsciously we don't want to recognize if we're the bad guy, right? I'm going to displace it. I'm going to put it onto an other that's especially strong, like you're saying, and worth unwiring if that's what it was like for you in childhood.
Yeah.
Or your mom, the dad was always the bad guy, or this we see a lot when, parents are interacting and when the kids do something well, look what our kid did when the when the kid does something well, the parents are, it's mutual. And then when the kid does something not liked by the parents, well, your child, right? We have this cutoff or this splitting modeled to us often from a very young age. Yeah. Women do themselves a great service by understanding your partner is not your enemy, right? We're talking about healthy relationship dynamics here. If you have something unhealthy, that's a separate topic. Healthy relational dynamics where your perspective and how you view and interact with your partner is what's making it unhealthy, toxic, whatever you want to label it. You have a lot of power slowing down and understanding and approaching a complaint or a criticism with your part of the work already done. Your taking of accountability is what you lead with. I have something going on for me, and I'd love to talk to you about it. I recognize this is from my childhood. I recognize I have an extra intense reaction to this because it's happened to me in my past. I'm doing my best to keep those incidences separate from this incident. and something that worked for me a lot with my partner that's withstood the test of time is, and my brain is having a really hard time that this behavior came up with you because I love you so much and I don't want to ever couple you with any of the bad people that I've dated before. Oh, so can you help me? Right? Like, lay your sword down, lay your weaponry down.
Yeah.
And yes, your partner may still get defensive because you're starting a new communication pattern. So they're queued up for like your typical response of lashing out at them, let's say. So they may still have it viscerally. Let them have their reaction. They need to adjust just like you do, right? Very similarly to how you do. Give them time, give them grace. You can approach it vulnerably. It's not about them, it's about you. Right. You being vulnerable and sharing, hey, I messed up. I'm having a reaction. I've done some soul searching. Here's what I identified and I think is my contribution. And it still feels like there's some unresolved stuff. Could we talk about it? Right? That becomes a conversation. And now you're not having a conflict of hypercritical, contemptuous. That's so this, I would have never done that, right? If you came to, well, in my clinical office, if you came to me like that, I would have to put my clinical face on. If you came to me like that in my personal life, I'd be like, I don't know who you think you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have a different conversation. Can you reword that with ownership is what I tell my clients. When I experienced blank behavior, I felt whatever the actual emotion is, and don't make your partner feel what you're feeling. Let them know verbally what you are feeling, right? Don't try to elicit anger in them as a subversive way to show that you're angry or explain it. And then the key part at the end of this is, and then the story I made up in my head was fill in the blank, right? When I experienced getting home and the chores not being done, I felt sad. I felt lonely. I felt like I was walking into a second shift. It took me back to my childhood. And I saw how my mom was so resentful of my dad. And it was such an uncomfortable experience. And then the story I made up in my head was that's what's happening in our marriage. And it scared the shit out of me. A much, much more evolved, much more collaborative way to approach versus, you fucking idiot, why didn't you take the trash out? Right? Or seriously, how did you not notice? Right? Why do we get so angry? Because our brain knows we are very emotional. Men's brains don't usually tune in until there's like, boom, threat. And so we've tried, we've been nice. Hey, honey, could you sit down at a good time, have the agreement. And then, yes, it's understandable if you're like, hey, we had a deal. Did something happen that you couldn't follow through on it? Right. Even still, I'm being curious rather than accusing them of being an idiot or not loving me. Like, why do we go to the two most hurtful things we could say about a person? Like, we insult their intelligence or we question their love for us.
Right. What is that? Why are we so like all or nothing? I mean, it's so interesting how fights really bring up like, it really is all or nothing. Like, we feel so incredibly offended, but something I heard, and I don't remember where I heard this, but the stronger the emotional reaction, the deeper the wound is. And it's probably not from that person, you know?
No, 9 times out of 10, it is not. If you are able to go through your own internal process, and it takes a long time. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, it's easy. It took me over a decade. Like, it is very intentional work done over a long period of time that leads you to be able to communicate the way I do automatically. But in order for you to have a different result in the way you communicate and really touch into how deep do those wounds go, you also have to be willing to be vulnerable with yourself.
Right.
So before you can be vulnerable with another person, you have to understand what it's like, or you may benefit more rather from understanding what it's like to be vulnerable with yourself. And the literal definition of being vulnerable is to be susceptible to be attacked or harmed.
Yeah.
Not what we think of it as, right? We think of it as being sensitive and open and receptive, all wonderful traits,
right?
But not the true definition. And if you can trust yourself enough to go there, if you have enough self-compassion and understanding and ideally a support system to help you with that journey down to the deep end of your psyche, as I call it, you won't be as afraid of those shadow parts of you. You won't be as apprehensive to go to those no dark, scary places that hurts, because you can reprocess them and understand, oh, it's the story I was telling myself about what happened that's actually the pain point. It's not the event itself. And if you're noticing the same event happening over and over and over, that's repetition compulsion. That is also worth analyzing and looking at. What is it about you? Why are you picking that? right? Life doesn't happen to you. Why is this being chosen, even by your very tucked away part of your brain that you're not aware of, but it's operating most of your processes? Why are you choosing that? Why are you trying to heal those childhood wounds in your adult relationships? And what part of you chooses to not stand up for yourself, to be defensive, to not take accountability in these conversations? It's typically because there's a big wound there. And it can also be epigenetic, transgenerational. Let's look back at your family system. How did men and women interact? Right? Like I go very, very deep with my clients.
No, but I love that because that's so, so true. I think about that a lot. You know, I mean, I have family who was in the Holocaust and survived somehow. Good God. But yeah, I mean, there is some deep, deep DNA stuff in you that it's not just you. Like it is not just you working out your stuff. That's why I love when people talk about like ancestral trauma and like actually healing that and having you be the person to like stop that pattern. It's beautiful and it's true. It's real. I was thinking about what if you are like, okay, I'm doing the work. I'm coming from this beautiful, authentic place. I'm understanding that this is a story I have and I'm being vulnerable and I'm doing all the things. And then my partner says, well, I really don't know what to say or help you with. Like, I guess you're just going to have to get over it. Like, what do you do? Because that's obviously they need to do some work and that's very frustrating. But like, what do you do?
I think breaking the statement that you shared in that example down into two different parts, I don't really know how to help you, right? If we just pause it there, that is an opportunity for you again in that inner work before the delivery of this. And I give my clients the analogy of labor and delivery. Labor is the gross part of, screw you, I hate you, this is painful, how could you let me do blah, right? You're like freaking out at them, it's just a mess, like it's just like a bloody mess. And then the delivery is like, oh, we created this, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you have amnesia of what it was like to go through that process of that labor. That is the similar style of what you can think of as your job is labor. It is not your partner's responsibility to do your labor on your behalf, and you deliver, right? Don't show them the chaos. Don't show them all of that. It doesn't mean don't do it or that you can never. It's going to come out at times. Do your best to do your own labor and then give them the delivery of, and then earlier and I had the fight in this and then I was thinking this, but then I realized it was like that for you. And what are the needs that you have identified that weren't met that led to that anger in the first place? That's your job to do. That's not your partner's job to do. They may be very perceptive and helpful, but that's not their role in your life.
Right.
To identify your needs entirely. Right. And I think you being able, whoever is listening to this, the person being able to take accountability and go, and I needed, right? Well, I don't know what you want me to do in the future. We can't go back and undo the past. In the future, I believe I needed support and I know I could have done a better job of asking. So what I need from you, right? How you can help me next time is if I ask for support, and support for me looks like be so explicit, literally write out an instruction manual.
Yep.
Can we do that? You will likely get a yes because they feel like they can win at that. So for that first part of the sentence you mentioned, right? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. You got to do some soul searching and realize, how do you help yourself? Because long gone are the days of the parent-child relationship where you just go to them to kiss a boo-boo and magically everything feels better. That's a parental bond that is much more unique than it is with a, partner bond. But the elements will be similar. We go to somebody else to help us feel better. We can't outsource that entirely. And then the second part of that statement that you made, right? And you'll just have to get over it, deal with it, etc. Imagine, and this is like truly transcending your own self, imagine what's going on in their head, hearing from their partner a lot of chaotic energy, intense feminine energy, the collapse, and they have either been scolded for times they've tried to help in the past, or they actually have no blueprint established to be able to hold and contain true feminine energy. You're just going to have to get over it. Can also be read as, I'm deeply afraid to fail you at this. I don't know how to help you. If you moved past this and just neatly packaged up your emotions, this wouldn't be a problem. And then we'd be into solution. Then we could just move on with our life, right? There's a gamut of what it could actually mean.
Right.
Don't take it personally, right? Try not to anyway. Take it off the jump and instead take a deep breath and share. I'm having trouble processing that answer because I'm getting the sense that you're not willing to help. I'm getting the sense that, or I'm perceiving it as you don't want me to have any emotions. Am I correct in that assumption? No, that's not what I meant. Okay, then what is it instead? Right.
Yeah.
And we're talking like this is intense pattern redoing
Right.
of process your own emotions to transcend. That's not personal. I understand why they're saying that, because I would freaking like that too if I didn't have to go through all these chaotic emotions, right? I wish I could just get over it. Trust me, but I really do. And I'm enviable that your brain works in a different way where you are able to just categorize worth it, not worth it, worth it, not worth it, right?
Can you imagine?
It's so helpful that we can model them. And that's where we can also give deference to them and be vulnerable and say, do you have any advice on how I could do that? Right? Truly being curious. And this is the thing, if you ask a man's opinion, because it is a self-extension, you need to take their opinion. So only use that methodology if you're truly willing to accept what they are offering to you, right? Well, just get over it. Could you explain to me what that means? Well, try not to think about it. Try not to let it bother you. Oftentimes, if you get curious about what their operational definition is, it's not personal. It's not an attack on your character. They're trying to give you feedback. They don't have the words to tell you like what they feel just automatically almost.
Right.
Just don't think about it as much. I just focus on something else. I call a friend, I go for a walk, I move on with my day. Like, can you adopt in any part of it to do that? Okay. Right. You'll be better off to not sit there and perseverate on it, because there might not be a solution to some of these things, or the solution may not be in your partner. It may be in your therapist's office.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I have a friend whose husband does exactly that. Like, just don't think about it. Like, just stop thinking about it. And for him, I mean, he's a very like masculine man type archetype, and she's very feminine. And it's just, she's like, I'm so frustrated because I like can't, like, I need to process, like I need to figure out what to do. So on one hand, yeah, if you are willing to take their advice and actually listen with an open ear and the whole thing, and it makes sense, it's something you can do. Awesome. But I mean, I don't know. It depends on your partner. It depends on their level of understanding and work that they've done. You know, I think we're talking about a man who's like very just like kind of no work, like one dimensional, like this is it. This is how I work.
And I think attunement in a relationship is crucial here, as well as understanding your partner. I am a therapist. I process constantly. I'm very good at it. Like, it is literally my job. So even in my relationship, it's not like I could be like, oh, it's not my job to do it. Literally is my profession, my career. Right. That is not the role that I play in my partnership, in my relationship, in my life. Like, that is not the role that I play. It doesn't mean I don't enter into it at times. It doesn't mean I can't sit and hold space and process, but that's not my job in my relationship to do that on behalf of my partner. It is my role to do it for myself, processing and in the gathering mode of, and I went to the mall and I did this and I did da. The men sit there and go, what's the point? Why are you telling, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Land the plane. Right. And let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm really stressed. I understand there's no solution to it. Could I please have 5 minutes of your time to just bleh all over? Yeah. And with or without an opinion at the end. And they go, yeah, sure. Right. And then if they, they're doing something else, whatever, and you just need to get it out. Oftentimes that is what makes you feel better. So set your partner up for success that you need to process with or without hearing their opinion at the end. This is more of like, if you're going through something, and take ownership. My brain is trying to come up with a solution, right? And the quickest way for me to do that is often to process. Do you have some space? The same thing, similar, hopefully, that you'd ask a friend or a colleague or what have you. Why do we not extend that same grace to our partner? We take it for granted. We assume they'll always be there for us because of those typical blueprint delusions, right? Well, forever and always, forever and ever, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to vow to do this for the rest of our lives. It's like, sure, but we should also check in to make time to have that with our partner, that they can actually hear us. And processing is not every man's, it's not every woman's either. It's not their strong suit. Yeah. Right. And they will give you a solution. That's where many women feel so frustrated and they get defensive in return, because like, stop giving me the solution. I just want to vent. I can't tell you how many times I hear that in my office, and that can be talked through, and there can be a new plan and have a code word. Right? If I say elephant, I just need you to sit and listen, and I don't need feedback. If you have it, I'm open to hearing it at the end. And if I say kangaroo, I need you to jump into action and give me 5 or 10 minutes of your time, right? set your partner up for success. Don't automatically assume that they have space for you all the time. Again, going back to how many of us were able to go to one parent or another in childhood. That's a parent's role. They don't always take it on and they're not always able to. We go to them to process. And sometimes we went to them a lot growing up and they would shut it down. I don't have time. I don't have this. I don't have that. It gets shoved. Now that person becomes a truly internal processor. They no longer think to externally process things. And typically an external processor matches with an internal processor. So there's space for both of you to coexist.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be really, really mindful of who you're picking as your partner. And if them being able to process with you or, not in a therapy way, but to be supportive of you is an important trait. And that person that you're with doesn't have it. And it's one of your ultimatums. Like, I can't live without this in a relationship. That's not your perfect person. Nobody's perfect, but that's not the partner you're actually destined to meet with and match with across the lifespan, because they're missing the key crucial element. And don't wrong them for that. Thank them for the time that you had with them and letting them, into your life. You let them vice versa. And then it opened this part of you of like, I never realized until I didn't get it, how important it was, or until I did get it, how important it was.
God, isn't that so true? I mean, it's why it's so important to just continue to keep doing work on yourself at whatever age, because our relationships are so different as we get older and we do find out what we really need. And I mean, honestly, as simple as it sounds, it's like you should be with someone who is a friend, because if you guys can actually be friends, you can actually, that they are, making space and you're making space for them. And it really is a much more compatible kind of situation versus, oh my God, he's so hot and I'm so sexually attracted to him. And like, that's kind of all it is. It's like, yeah, well, at the end of the day, can you guys even like hold space for each other? Does he listen? All of the things.
Or is he just really hot, right? I'm a big fan of hot people. Whatever, right? That works.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong with that. But being able to have a solid friendship as part of your partnership. This happened to me just this weekend with mine. And I was talking to him and I'm like, hey, I would love your friend zone. Like, can we go into the friend zone intentionally? And I need to just talk to you because I really value your opinion and I value how even keel and level-headed you are. I would come to you even if we were ever only friends and not together for the rest of our lives. Like, can I have friend you so we can process? And I shifted, he shifted. Very constructive, very good feedback, took his opinion and advice and it worked very well. Appreciated him for it. And then went back into romantic, you're so hot, I can't wait to see, right? Yeah. If you have that access road in your relationship, it's much easier to then tell them, hey, I need friend you. How would you listen to me if you were my friend? And there are times where early on in the beginning, couples try this and they're like, I actually don't even think I'd be friends with this person. I'm like, then why would you date them?
Exactly.
Like, why would you do that? Right. Or they're super hot. I'd hook up with them, but I wouldn't marry them. And I'm like, so they can enter here, but not here. Like, got to get our standards recorrected here. Yeah.
No, it's so true. But that's just age and experience. And we start figuring out when we figure it out, depending on what age we are.
Very, very true. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Talking to you is always amazing. And you have so much incredible insight, such a piece of gold this episode was, you guys. I hope you all learned so much. Man, just do the work. And if you need help, go find this one. She's all in the show notes, but tell people how they can find you.
On Instagram at Talia Bombala. And then my website is the same name. And I do provide coaching, more like lifestyle relationship mentorship. And then I also provide the deep style of therapy. I'm a Jungian life coach as well as a Jungian psychotherapist. So I have both areas covered. And then speaking of doing the work on yourself, it's starting up again soon, but I teach like to give back because I don't think this is accessible enough information, or there's so many books that you could read that it's like too inundating, and many people get 3 chapters in and they're like, okay, I found one thing that helped me, right? It's like we take the course of antibiotics so we feel better, then we stop. And it's like, no, the last 3 days were super crucial to make sure the infection doesn't come back. Like, don't stop just because it starts feeling a little bit different or better. I have a course that takes you through all the deep level assessments you'll need for your own self-development and understanding how those piece together. So sometimes people go through that and that's enough of the foundation they need, or they're already in their own therapy, or that sets the foundation if we choose to work together, if it's a good fit. So it's a service I love to be able to give because it's super important, and it's called the Insight Masterclass, and it will teach you mostly, I would say, minus some caveats, everything that you need to know to get started on this, doing the work, taking accountability, viewing yourself in a different light, that you're not the victim, nor are you a perpetrator, nor are you this innocent bystander in your life who doesn't have any say. It's a very empowering process to go through.
That sounds amazing. Go sign up for that, guys. Talia, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there. Also, make sure to watch the video version on YouTube at That Girl the Podcast.